detail. So first of all, let me just go to this page. It's on the World Health Organization website, who.int, and if you can find it from the newsroom, and it talks about international health regulations, and it basically says that the international health regulations, which has a date attached to it, the 2005, represents a binding international legal agreement involving 196 countries across the globe, including all the member states of WHO. You know, I've seen both these numbers, 194 and 196, and I'll show you both in a second. Their aim is to help the international community prevent and respond to acute public health risks that have the potential to cross borders and threaten people worldwide. The purpose and scope of the IHR 2005 is to protect against, control and provide a public health response to the international spread of disease in ways that are commensurate with and restricted to public health risks and which avoid unnecessary interference with international traffic and trade. Now, I'm going to very briefly go to a page, it's page 39 of the Global Preparedness Monitoring Board's 2019 annual report. And I'll talk more about this board and their various annual reports in just a minute, and I'd like to go through this particular document in a little detail. It's a bit of an overview document, so, you know, a lot of fluff and not much substance, so will be easy to kind of go straight through. Look at numbers 1 and 2 under progress indicators by September 2020, and these are progress indicators for a particular objective. And this is the objective. It's sort of last or lower down in this document, and I'll come back to it later. But this is what it's talking about. The United Nations must strengthen coordination mechanisms. It's talking about coordination across countries, across health systems, not just nationwide, but worldwide, across nation borders, during health emergencies, and working with the United Nations and working with the WHO. Okay, and I'll go back and read all of that later more closely. But the progress indicators for this particular objective or mission are these. 1, the Secretary General of the United Nations, with the Director General of the WHO and Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, strengthens coordination, identifies clear roles and responsibilities, timely triggers for a coordinated UN system-wide response for health emergencies. So it simply spells out who's responsible, and as you can tell, it's the United Nations and the World Health Organization. Now, the United Nations, including WHO, and this is the one that we need to look at very closely, conducts at least 2 system-wide training and simulation exercises, including one covering the deliberate release of a lethal respiratory pathogen. And as I said, I'll come back to this document later, but here you have it. This is the information coming out of a report published in September 2019. The United Nations, including WHO, intended to conduct at least 2 system-wide training and simulation exercises, including one covering the deliberate release of a lethal respiratory pathogen. Now this is this document right here. I'm going to enlarge it a little bit. This document is the bulk of the agreement, the International Health Regulation Agreement that was signed off on by all these 194 or variably 196 countries in 2005. And this agreement has been stated to replace all of the other agreements that have held up till then internationally, various international sanitary and health agreements. And there's a whole list of them, and I'll go through this later. So this document was published in 2008, but it actually carries the gist of an agreement that was signed off on in 2005. And we'll come back to it in just a minute.
I want you to know right up front, YouTube, nothing in this video is my opinion and there is no conjecture. Everything that you see in this video is going to come from government and World Health Organization sources. Let me ask you this question before I start. When was the CARES, or Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, written? You would think that it was written after the so-called pandemic. Well, let me show you something real quick. This is from the Associated Press. This video right here is from March 27th, 2020, where it says Trump signs $2.2 trillion stimulus package. And we're going to see that this stimulus package is H.R. 748, the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. Watch this.
Well, thank you all very much. It's a very important day. I'll sign the single biggest economic relief package in American history, and I must...
So it's the single biggest economic relief package in American history. And you would think that would be as a response to, it's written as a response to, after the certain pandemic has taken place.
Say, or any other package, by the way. It's twice as large as any relief ever signed. It's $2.2 billion, but it actually goes up to $6.2 potentially billion dollars. $trillion.
Okay, so you see he made the mistake of billion to trillion there. Now this is whitehouse.gov. This is the actual transcription of everything that we're going to hear Trump say. I'm not going to play this entire thing, but I'm going to show you this mistake. But it actually goes up to 6.2 potentially billion trillion dollars. So that's everything that he says, and I want to show you this right here real quick. But I want to thank Republicans and Democrats. This is what Trump says in this video right here, dated March 27th, which corresponds with this at whitehouse.gov, remarks by President Trump at the signing of H.R. 748. Remember that. That's going to be very important here in a second. Signed when? March 27th. That corresponds with this date of this upload by the Associated Press, March 27th. And the reason I'm making a big deal out of this is because we're talking about H.R. 748. We are not talking about another bill. Trump did not sign another bill. He signed H.R. 748. That's going to be real important in about a minute. So he says this: I want to thank Republicans and Democrats for coming together, setting aside their differences, and putting America first. You don't put America first when you sign a $6.2 trillion corporate / banker bailout, which is exactly what this is. This is not a stimulus for the American people. This is a corporate / banker bailout. But when was this bill introduced? When was it written? It had to be after the pandemic came along, right? Because this is a natural response to what happens after the fact, right? Watch this. World Health Organization says a pneumonia of unknown cause detected in Wuhan, China was first reported when? To the World Health Organization country office in China on 31 December 2019. All right? When was it declared a public emergency? The outbreak was declared a public health emergency of international concern on 30 January 2020. So when was H.R. 748 introduced to Congress? You would think it would be after January 30th, 2020, right? I mean, it'd be ludicrous to come up with a Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act before coronavirus was ever on the scene, right? This is from congress.gov. You can look this up for yourself. Everything that I'm talking about in this video, I'm going to put all the links in the description and in the pinned comment so you can look this up for yourself and share it with your family and friends who've been deceived by what we're seeing today. Check this out. H.R. 748, going back to whitehouse.gov. H.R. 748, the CARES Act. What does CARES stand for? Look at this. Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, or the CARES Act. H.R. 748, he signs H.R. 748. He signs it on March 27th, 2020. When was it introduced? Oh, check this out. Introduced 1/24/2019. A full year, a year and 2 months before he sits down at this desk and signs it during a plandemic. Why do we call it a plandemic? Because look, they already had this in the works, guys, on 1/24/2019. Let me show you something else. If you click a link right here on congress.gov, it takes you to this page right here so you can see the movement through Congress all the way to the very end where it becomes a law. When was it introduced? 1/24/2019, introduced into the House. And you can track its movement on the 24th, 2019, 5/21/2019, 7/17/2019. This is into July. And then the cutoff at 7/22/2019 read the second time. Oh, now we're into the pandemic phase. They introduced the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, before coronavirus was even spoken of, before most Americans even ever heard of Wuhan, China. The fingerprints of governmental planning is all over this thing. And then you consider the Rockefeller document, Lockstep, which is found in this document called Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development on page 18. Lockstep is a world of tighter top-down government control and more authoritarian leadership with limited innovation and growing citizen pushback, where they talk about the pandemic blanketing the planet. Please share this video with everybody you know. The CARES Act was written 1 year before coronavirus arrived on the scene. They knew what they were going to do before they let you know what they were going to do. Before I go, ask yourself this question. Why is nobody in corporate media talking about this? They have billions of dollars in resources to be able to do this research, and anybody can find it anywhere on the internet, but they're silent about it. Why? The answer is because they're complicit. They're accomplices in this crime, and that's exactly what it is, a crime that's been foisted not only on America, but on the entire world on behalf of the Federal Reserve and the IMF International Banking Cartel. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the Google Thought Police in the comments section below. Be sure to look at all the documentation in the description and in the pinned comment and do your own research. Don't let somebody else do your thinking for you. I'll see you in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.
It's the biggest ever approved in Congress, $6.2 trillion. So, you know, we used to get used to the billion. It used to be million, then it was billion, now it's trillion. But we have to get rid of the bug. We have to get rid of the virus. Now, I'm going to sign this, and it's a great honor. $6.2 trillion. I've never signed anything with a T on it. I don't know if I can handle this one, Mitch. We can't chicken out at this point, can we? I don't think so, huh? All right, thank you all. Good, I wanted that to be a nice signature. Kevin, come on, fellas, come on over here. Elaine, what a job she's doing with transportation. How's transportation, okay?
Fine. You always talk about the supply chain.
I do.
It's really important.
I do.
This
You better
bill is going to
believe
help
it.
the supply
You better
chain and the
believe it.
workers.
Thank you very much. Anthony? Thank you. Thanks, Tony, very much. $6.2 trillion. $6.2 trillion. I've never signed anything with a T on it. Well, thank you all very much. It's a very important day. I'll sign the single biggest economic relief package in American history, and I must say, or any other package, by the way. It's twice as large as any relief ever signed. It's $2.2 billion, but it actually goes up to $6.2 potentially trillion dollars. So you're talking about a $6.2 trillion bill, nothing like that. And this will deliver urgently needed relief to our nation's families, workers, and businesses. And that's what this is all about. And it got a 96-0. And I don't know, what was the number in Congress?
Voice votes.
The voice was
Yep.
I think
fantastic.
it's just as close.
That's pretty amazing. That's about the same thing, right, Kevin? I
Yes.
think? So that's fantastic. But I want to thank Republicans and Democrats for coming together, setting aside their differences, and putting America first. This legislation provides for direct payments to individuals and unprecedented support to small businesses. We're going to keep our small businesses strong and our big businesses strong, and that's keeping our country strong and our jobs strong. This historic bill includes the following: $300 billion in direct cash payments will be available to every American citizen earning less than $99,000 per year. $3,400 for a typical family of four. So family of four, $3,400. And then $350 billion in job retention loans for small businesses with loan forgiveness available for businesses that continue paying their workers. The workers get paid. Approximately $250 billion in expanded unemployment benefits. The average worker who has lost his or her job will receive 100% of their salary for up to 4 full months. So things like this have never happened in our country. $500 billion in support for hard-hit industries with a ban on corporate stock buybacks. We don't let them buy back the stock. We don't let that happen. And tough limits on executive compensation. Over $100 billion to support our heroic doctors, nurses, and hospitals, and you see what's happening. And I want to thank, while we're here, also the incredible job that's done by the Army Corps of Engineers and by FEMA. It's been incredible. They did 4 hospitals in 2 days or 3 days in New York, and they're like incredible structures. What a job they've been doing, and they're doing them all over the country. $45 billion for the Disaster Relief Fund, supporting our state, local, and tribal leaders. $27 billion for the development of vaccines, therapies, and other public health response efforts, including $16 billion to build up the strategic national stockpile with critical stockpiles. And we have tremendous supplies coming into the stockpile, and you'll be seeing that and hearing about it a little bit because we're doing a news conference at 5:30 on what's happening. We've had tremendous results on the respirators. We've had great results on just about everything we're talking about. Boeing just announced that they're going to be making the plastic face shields, the actual shields, which are hard to come by, and they're going to be making them by the thousands a week. And the ventilators, which is probably the most difficult because it's like building a car. We will be announcing thousands are going to be built, and we have them under contract, and we have fast deliveries. As you know, we delivered thousands to New York, and unfortunately they were delivered to a warehouse, which was good. Unfortunately, they didn't take them, but now they're taking them. New York is now taking them and redistributing them around the areas that they need. So you have also $3.5 billion to states to expand child care benefits for healthcare workers, first responders, and others on the front lines of this crisis, and $1 billion for securing supplies under the Defense Protection Act. And as you know, I've enacted the act. We've used it 3 or 4 times. I pulled it back 3 times because the companies came through in the end. They didn't need the act. It's been great leverage. I have instituted it against General Electric. We thought we had a deal for 40,000 ventilators, and all of a sudden the 40,000 came down to 6,000. And then they talked about a higher price than we were discussing, so I didn't like it. So we did activate it with respect to General Motors, and hopefully maybe we won't even need the full activation. We'll find out. But we need the ventilators. I said hello today. I called him a wonderful guy, Boris Johnson. As you know, he tested positive. And before he even said hello, he said, "We need ventilators." I said, wow, that's a big statement. And hopefully he's going to be in good shape. I just spoke to Angela Merkel, and she's quarantined also. She is right now for a period of 2 weeks being forced to stay in her house. So this is just an incredible situation. Last night I spoke to President Xi. We talked about the experience that they had in China and all of the things that have taken place, and we learn a lot. They've had a very tough experience, and they're doing well, and he's doing well. President Xi is doing very well, but we learned a lot, and we have great communication together. We're going to be sent great data from China, things that happen that they see that they've had an early experience, and we're getting all of that information. Much of it has already been sent. It was sent yesterday and sent to our scientists to study. So we'll have more on that also. We'll be discussing that at 5:30. I just want to thank the people behind me. They've been incredible friends. They've been warriors. There's nobody tougher or smarter than the people standing alongside of me. And I think I want to start off by asking Mitch and then Kevin to speak, and then we're going to go through a few of the folks in the room if they'd like to say something. But Mitch, I'd love you to say a few words, because this man worked 24 hours a day for a long time. This is the result. It's the biggest ever approved in Congress, $6.2 trillion. So, we used to get used to the billion. It used to be million, then it was billion, now it's trillion. And it's going to go a long way. It's going to make a lot of people very happy. Mitch McConnell, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me just say this is a proud moment for our country, for the President, the Republicans, and the Democrats all pulled together and passed the biggest bill in history in record time. I also want to thank Kevin McCarthy and our leaders on the Republican side in the House who helped speed this through to passage. The American people needed this rescue package. They needed it quickly, and we delivered. It's a proud moment for all of us. Mr. President, thanks for the opportunity to be here.
I'd love to shake your hand, but Anthony would get angry at me if I did that. So I better not do it. I can't. It's so natural. I just want to go back and shake his hand. They have done such an incredible job. Kevin, please.
Yeah, I do want to start. I want to thank all. The real answer to America is we're listening to you. You do your part, and we're going to do ours, and that's exactly what's happening today. What Leader McConnell did was amazing. He made it bipartisan, bicameral. Everybody was involved. I wish we could have signed this earlier this week. Maybe there wouldn't be as many people who are out of work, but this will put people back to work. I also want to thank Secretary Mnuchin. You've done an amazing job, and we thank you for that, and all the team that's here. Look, as I said in my speech, the virus is here. We didn't ask for it. We didn't invite it. We didn't choose it, but we are going to defeat it together, because we're going to work together, and this is the first start of it. The hospitals will get money, the money they need. The small businesses will be able to hire their employees back. That is a grant. You don't have to borrow from that place. The other businesses get a retention to keep your employees on. This has something for everything, and to the task force and the vice president, all the work that you're doing with this president, this will be the needed resources you need as well. And so thank you for that, and thank you for your leadership, Mr.
Very
President.
special. Mike Pence, Mike, could you please say something? You've been working very hard in charge of our task force, and then I'd like to ask Steve to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for giving me the opportunity just to express all of our appreciation and the gratitude of the American people for the accomplishment that's reflected in the legislation that you'll sign in just a few moments. You told the American people that we would do whatever it takes. You called on the Congress to step forward to make coronavirus testing free for every American, to make paid family leave available. The Congress, with the leaders gathered around us here, stepped forward in a bipartisan fashion and delivered. But today, every American family, every American business can know that help is on the way. And I want to thank Leader McConnell for his yeoman's work in really forging a bipartisan bill in the United States Senate. I want to thank Leader McCarthy for his great work. But as the President said, I also want to thank the Democrat and Republican leadership across the House and Senate. This is an American accomplishment. Mr. President, it's exactly what you asked the Congress to deliver for the American people.
Thank you very much, Mike. And Steve Mnuchin, you know how hard he's been working. And Steve, please say a few words.
Mr. President, thank you very much for your leadership and for the Vice President's leadership. You made it very clear to us last week we should think big, that this was a war on the virus, and that we should have the resources to protect American workers and American business. And I'd like to thank the Senate. It was a great honor, Mitch, to work with you and everyone on a bipartisan basis to get this done. This is going to be a great thing for the American workers. And Kevin McCarthy, thank you for all the work in the House did to pass this quickly. So at Treasury, as I've said, we are committed to move forward quickly, and we're going to get money in people's pockets quickly. Thank you, Mr. President.
Great job, Steve. Gene, please.
This is a great day for American workers. Protecting American workers, American jobs has been a hallmark of this presidency, and this bill today is another very important step in that direction. It includes unprecedented support for American workers who've lost their jobs through no fault of their own, but because of this virus, and gives them as near as we could the same wage they would have gotten through unemployment insurance if they'd been able to keep their jobs for up to 4 months. I think even more important, it includes $350 billion in loans for small business, but structured in a way to incentivize them to keep their workers on payroll so that those loans can be forgiven at the end of the period. And it comes on top of legislation the President signed last week for paid leave for workers who have to be at home because of the virus. Paid leave reimbursed in full, dollar for dollar, to the employer. It's the first federal paid leave law for the private sector ever, and that also was achieved on an unprecedented bipartisan basis. This is the third major bipartisan piece of legislation in 3 weeks, 3 bills, 3 weeks, to address this virus. So again, I want to thank the President for his leadership, his commitment to American workers, the Vice President as well, and Leader McConnell, and also my colleague, Secretary Mnuchin, who did work so hard to help you get this done.
Dr. Fauci, you may want to just say for a minute, what hit the world? Something hit the world, and the world maybe will never be quite the same, but we're going to make it a great place anyway. But certainly you could maybe say a few words about that, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank everyone involved in this. This is what America is all about, a bipartisan approach with your leadership to do something that's sorely needed by the American people. Dr. Birx and I and all of our medical people here are fighting the virus directly, but the virus has an impact on the American people, both directly by illness and death, but also indirectly because many of the things that we have to do to suppress the virus has a negative impact because of what we're doing. To give them relief economically is absolutely essential. So I feel really, really good about what's happening today. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Deborah, perhaps you could say a few words also about.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Fauci covered it very well. As many of you know, I worked for him and he was my mentor 40 years ago. I think whenever we start with one of these very serious diseases and a pandemic, the President's first goal was ensuring the health of the American people, and that's why we put out these very strong guidance. It's been a pleasure to work with the economic team here because they understand data in the same way. Economic data and health data is very similar in how you have to interpret it in a very granular way. And I think recognizing that the health of the American people is first, but the economic value of the nation is also critical. And I just want to thank all of you for what you've done for the American people today.
Great job you're doing too. Thank you. Kevin, please.
So just 20 days ago, I don't know that anyone could have imagined how hard we'd been hit, medically or economically. But 20 days ago, I don't think anyone could have imagined Congress pulling together so quickly and so forcefully behind what the President identified we needed for this country. This is a proud moment for all of us, and it's just an example of what leadership can provide here in the White House, and then how we can respond as a Congress. So thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership.
I'm just saying, as Kevin's saying, that 20 days ago, a couple of days longer than that maybe, we had a smooth running, beautiful machine. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We had the highest stock price we've ever seen. It went up, I think, 151 times during the course of the presidency. And then we got hit by the invisible enemy. And we got hit hard. But it wasn't just us. It was 151 countries, I think, as of this morning. And you call Germany and speak to Angela. She's in quarantine. And as you know, Boris was diagnosed that he's positive, and all of the things that are happening, it's hard to believe what's gone on just in a short period of time. And because of the talent behind me and lots of other talent in government, what we've done, this is a big part of it, obviously, but not the biggest part. Everybody's pulled together. Our nation's pulled together. The spirit is incredible. The people have pulled together more than anyone and better than anybody, and they're doing really, really well. But just to think how life can change, where you go 20 to 22 days ago, everything's perfect. We're looking forward. I'm saying, when are we going to hit 30,000? I want 30,000. That means more jobs and more everything. And then one day we get hit with this thing that nobody ever heard of before. Nobody ever even heard of before. And now we're fighting a different battle. But I really think in a fairly short period of time, because of what they've done, and what everyone's done, I really think we're going to be stronger than ever. And we'll be protected from a lot of this. A lot of the things, Anthony, that we've done now, that we're doing now, are going to protect us in the future if this should happen again. from testing to so many other, even stockpiles, right? Yeah, the vaccines, hopefully, and vaccines, cures, therapeutics, whatever you want to call it. It's a lot of progress. And I think on that score, I think we're making a lot of progress on vaccines. We're making perhaps a lot of progress on cures and therapeutics. We'll be letting you know. Anybody else have anything? Greg, please. Go ahead, folks.
I would just say I've never seen you shy away from a challenge. Your leadership and your policies and this great team brought America this enormous economy, and guess what? You get to do it again. And this bill is the next step in that, and we can build back this economy with your leadership and with the healthcare team you've got here too. We're doing the right things for the American people, and they know that. I can tell you that from the ground. It's not easy.
No,
it's not easy. We don't want to shelter in place as Americans. We want to be out, especially in the Northwest.
Yeah.
But we know we have to do this for the safety of our relatives and families and our community and our country. So thanks for your leadership
Thank you
and
very
the
much,
great
Greg.
team you've assembled.
Appreciate it very much.
Yeah. On behalf of small businesses, they're the backbone of the American economy. About half of the people that work in America work for a small business, and they're hurting out there right now. I'm from Ohio. I'm the ranking member of the House Small Business Committee, and back there, non-essential small businesses are shut down. Without this legislation, it's questionable whether they would reopen. Because of this legislation, they now have a great chance of that. And those people that work for small businesses who are shuttered now will be paid. That's really important. This wouldn't have passed without your leadership, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you know, Eric worked so hard. You all know Eric. And he was at Steve's side the whole way. And where's our man? Do I see Larry? Yeah, Larry. The two of them. How about Eric and then Larry say a couple of words? And
well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I really appreciate it, and Mr. Vice President as well. So you encouraged your team to be bold, be brave, and go big, and we certainly delivered today. $6.2 trillion is tremendous. So we've made sure that we can reassure Americans that their paycheck is protected and that their earnings are protected. We've made sure that we can provide significant reinforcement to the American economy as a result of your leadership. And finally, looking ahead to address the virus, we've included significant resources in order to ensure that those therapies and ultimately that vaccine can come online as quickly as possible. So protecting the public health and protecting the economic health of America is what you've directed us to do. And together with the team, we worked hard to deliver today. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
And Steve is going to work very hard on getting the money out quickly. And hopefully it can be distributed very quickly, especially when they have some old computer equipment that they have to use, but you're going to work on that very hard.
Indeed.
Larry, please. Larry
Oh,
Kudlow.
thanks, sir. Just hats off to Mitch McConnell. Did an amazing job, and House leadership as well. And I agree with the bipartisanship. I want to give special thanks to my friend Stephen Mnuchin, who I think did an extraordinary job. We were up there helping him out in one spot or another, but he's indefatigable and got it done. And I'll just say this, Mr. President. A few months ago, this economy was roaring, and we've hit this, literally this bug, this virus, and we will deal with it. And I think the assistance bill here, which does have growth incentives, will help lead us back to a very strong economic rebound before this year is over.
I think that too.
Thank
I think
you,
we're
sir.
going to have a tremendous rebound at the end of the year, toward the end of the year. I think we're going to have a rebound like we have never seen before. Even now it wants to rebound. You can see it, feel it. It wants to rebound so badly. And, you know, we've had those really big, I guess the biggest ever stock market surge 2 days ago, and yesterday was great. 3 biggest days in the history of the stock market. It wants to rebound so badly, but we have to get rid of the bug. We have to get rid of the virus. Now, I'm going to sign this, and it's a great honor. $6.2 trillion. I've never signed anything with a T on it. I don't know if I can handle this one, Mitch. We can't chicken out at this point, can we? I don't think so, huh? All right, thank you all. Good, I wanted that to be a nice signature. That was- Kevin, come on, fellas, come on over here. Elaine, what a job she's doing with transportation. How's transportation, okay?
Fine. You always talk about the supply chain.
I do.
It's really important.
I do.
This
You better
bill is going
believe
to help
it.
the supply
You better
chain and the
believe it.
workers.
Thank you very much. Anthony? Thank you. Thanks, Tony, very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Appreciate it.
Bob Lighthouser, thank you very much. Bob was a little less involved in this. He's too busy making trade deals. Okay, do you have one? Well, you definitely have to have one. Go ahead. You're all set. Thank you, everybody. So we're going to have a 5:30 news conference in the same location. Seems to be doing quite well. And we appreciate everything. And we really appreciate the fairness, at least from most of the press. We really do. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, there was a rare moment of agreement today between you and Senator Kerry over
That's
the
right.
issue with Massey. Can you expand a bit on that?
Well, he made a little joke about a man named Congressman Massey. I thought he was totally out of line, Congressman Massey. Because of that, I guess a lot of people had to come back, and they had to go into a place which, frankly, we're not supposed to be in, you know, in light of what we're doing with Deborah and Tony and all of the professionals. So people had to come back, and just no reason for it. So John Kerry made a little joke out of it, and I agreed with his joke, and I said I never knew he had that kind of a personality, but we actually put it up, and he was right. Okay, we'll see you in a couple of minutes, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
We in the World Health Organization do not advocate lockdowns as a primary means of control of this virus. The only time we believe a lockdown is justified is to buy you time to reorganize, regroup, rebalance your resources, protect your health workers who are exhausted. But by and large, we'd rather not do it. And so we really do appeal to all world leaders. Stop using lockdown as your primary control method. Develop better systems for doing it. Work together and learn from each other. But remember, lockdowns just have one consequence that you must never, ever belittle, and that is making poor people an awful lot poorer.
I don't know if this is genuine. I've no way of knowing if it's genuine. But it's said to be an email from a committee member within the Liberal Party of Canada who claims to sit within several committee groups. And it says this information is originating from what he calls the Strategic Planning Committee, which he says is steered by the Prime Minister's office, Trudeau. And he says, or she says, that they've come out because what they've learned about this sequence to come is so horrific that people need to know about it. So let's go through it. They call it the roadmap, and it's as follows. Phase in secondary lockdown restrictions on a rolling basis, starting with major metropolitan areas first and expanding outward, expected, he says, by November 2020.
And that is why I am declaring a state of public health emergency in Alberta. That's why, effective immediately, no indoor social gatherings will be permitted in any setting.
Today, I am putting in place new provincial health officer orders for all individuals, places of work, and businesses in communities within the Vancouver Coastal and Fraser Health regions.
Today we're announcing updated public health orders that will come into effect November 20. The orders will further limit social contacts and the operation of non-essential businesses.
Effective Monday, November 23rd at 12:01 a.m., Toronto and Peel will be moved into lockdown.
Rush the acquisition or construction of isolation facilities across every province and territory, expected by December 2020, according to this.
In the last 24 hours, nearly 400 people tested positive for COVID in Peel region. And as that number continues to rise, residents here will soon have access to an isolation center.
An undisclosed facility is being set up with the federal government.
According to the Public Health Agency of Canada, there are 11 designated hotel quarantine sites across the country.
Next one, daily new cases of COVID-19 will surge beyond the capacity of testing, including increases in COVID-related deaths following the same growth curves, expected by the end of November 2020.
It's been weeks since Canada's hardest hit provinces tightened up measures to try to curb the spread of COVID-19.
but the virus is still running rampant. Take a look at the rate of infection over the last 7 days across the country. Alberta shows the biggest concern. Its rate is more than twice as high as Quebec and over 3 times higher than Ontario.
Right now, there is still a crisis unfolding, especially in Alberta. Today, that province broke another daily record.
Now, British Columbia is also seeing a dramatic jump in cases.
We're following breaking news out of Ontario this morning. The province has smashed its record for daily COVID-19 cases.
Manitoba is also seeing huge numbers. The province shattered its daily record yesterday.
Complete and total secondary lockdown, much stricter than the first. And second phase restrictions expected by the end of December 2020, early January 2021.
I'm announcing today that Ontario will enter a province-wide shutdown starting at 12:01 a.m. on December 26.
Reform and expansion of the unemployment program to be transitioned into a universal basic income program.
It's
expected,
happening.
2021. Oh, it's happening. It's
happening.
It's in my book that was published in August, The Answer, all about this. But my books from decades past have been pointing out that the plan is to create a guaranteed basic income scam. And this is how it works. The idea is that you destroy the jobs and the independent livelihood potential. And you're also destroying jobs on a monumental scale by replacing people with AI. In the same period, it's all going on at the same time. So people say, well, how are we going to survive? So what the government says then, it's all in my books years ago, it's all talk about deja bloody vu. And they say, well, we're going to give you a guaranteed income because we're nice people. Who cares? So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a pittance to live off, but there are little few patches. Now, when I come to this, one of the lines in this list, I mean, it's like absolutely right. As I've been saying all these years, the plan is that there will be conditions. You'll get the basic income, pittance, but only if you do what you're told.
Right.
And we can see examples of that, like in Australia, where they've been running this program with vaccinations. If you don't have your child, if you're on state benefits and you don't have your child vaccinated according to the list demanded by the government, then they cut your benefits.
We can't force someone to take a vaccine. That's clear. And because we want to make sure that people say they only would want it. And we want to make sure we have all the information they need, as well as all the safety information, etc. What we can do is to say sometimes for access or ease in getting into certain settings, if you don't have vaccination, then you're not allowed into that setting.
I don't know why I bring all these papers. I never look at them.
Oh, when you're giving numbers, I do. I go, oh. Did you really do that?
I just say whatever they write down for me.
That's why you're guessing.
Projected COVID-19 mutation and/or co-infection with secondary virus, referred to as COVID-21, leading to a third wave with much higher mortality rate and higher rates of infection, expected February 2021, according to this list. But like I say, I'm going with the list. The time scale may be a bit different. We'll see. But again, go back to the spring and interviews I did. I said, watch for them saying that this virus is mutating.
In Ontario, 2 people have tested positive for that new, more contagious strain of the virus, which was first detected in the UK, and officials don't know how they got it.
Chainlink. You know the drill. It's time for Chico Crypto. A disguise? Yes, that is what we need to dig into today and talk about, as the global pandemic just might be used as a cover for the introduction of a brand new digital world which revolves around digital IDs. Last week we put out our #1 video so far titled Global Pandemic Planned ID 2020 Vaccines and Crypto. It was our first video to surpass 100K, which happened over the weekend, and as of yesterday was looking for that 250K mark. I highly recommend you watch that video as a precursor for this one, as I'm not going to cover all of that info again. The video is in the description if you want to check it out. So ID 2020, what is that? Well, we need to fully understand this because it is the centerpiece for the entire future digital system. This is the Global Digital Identity Alliance that is aiming to create a digital ID for every person on this planet. And the backers, the people behind this alliance, are some of the most powerful people in this world. From last week's video, we know that Bill Gates is highly involved. He tries to hide it by not directly associating the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with it, but Gavi, the Vaccination Alliance, is one of the founding and main contributing members, of which we know Bill and Melinda Gates founded in 1999 with $750 million. But we just dug into basically Bill last time, as in his recent Reddit AMA, he spilled the beans on digital certificates for coronavirus testing and vaccination. But Bill is just one little piece of this. Who else is behind it? Well, as we can see, another founding member is the Rockefeller Foundation. And we didn't dive into that last time, so let's do it. If you know anything about the Rockefellers, you know they are basically American royalty. They are a family of the Illuminati, one of the controlling families from across this world. And the webs of power they have spread into the far reaches of every aspect of society. Just look at the groups involved with both the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, the CIA, the Federal Reserve, literally every other charitable or global brand, even the WWF.
If he throws him up on the other side,
No, not that one, the World Wildlife Foundation. But now we can also add ID 2020 to that list, as it's something the fellers have had their paws in, and they have been planning this for quite some time. May of 2010, the Rockefeller Foundation releases this report in collaboration with the Global Business Network, Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development. And on page 18, we get a glimpse into their future world. They call it Lockstep, and it's a world of tighter top-down governmental control and more authoritarian leadership, with limited innovation and growing citizen pushback. And they start this off with a prediction. 2012, a pandemic hits. Remember, this was written in 2010, which infects 20% of the population and kills 8 million people. The pandemic is also deadly on economies. International mobility of both people and goods screeched to a halt, debilitating industries, breaking supply chains, and locally shops and office buildings sat empty for months. Doesn't that sound familiar? Well, it gets even spookier. The United States is blamed for accelerating the spread for its leniency, while countries like China fared better as they enforced a strict and mandatory quarantine for all citizens. And let's continue. During the pandemic, national leaders around the world flexed their authority and imposed airtight rules and restrictions, from the mandatory wearing of face masks to body temperature checks at the entries to communal spaces like train stations and supermarkets. Even after the pandemic faded, this more authoritarian control of oversight of citizens and their activities stuck and even intensified. At first, the notion of a more controlled world gained wide acceptance and approval. Citizens willingly gave up some of their sovereignty and their privacy to more paternalistic states in exchange for greater safety and stability. In developed countries, this heightened oversight took many forms. Biometric IDs for all citizens. Doesn't that sound like what is happening? And the biometric ID, is it coming? Well, those Rockefellers in 2010, they knew it was coming, a biometric ID. Why do you think they are a part of the ID 2020 Foundation as a founding member? This was their plan all along, and they told us that nearly 10 years ago. So now that we know this has been in the works for some time with the Gates family and the Rockefellers behind it, let's get into what is currently being built by this alliance. From the founding alliance partners, of course we have Microsoft, who builds tech, but also there's Accenture. Now, don't you find it suspicious that both of these massive enterprises have been going gung-ho on blockchain technology in the past couple of years? With Accenture, it's obvious. Going to their website, blockchain is a main feature, and even in the first few words, you know what they are about. From traceable supply chains to permanent identity for refugees. Yup, it's about the ID, and if we go to their ID 2020 page, Accenture is all about a digital identity with blockchain and biometrics, just like those Rockefellers talked about in 2010. And Accenture kindly even put out a video explainer of the system. Let's watch now.
With this in mind, we have developed a unique digital identity prototype to modernize identity management for organizations and individuals. Leveraging the power of blockchain and biometrics, the system makes establishing, tracking, and managing digital identities more efficient, user-friendly, secure, and less open to fraud. Let's follow Joseph as he establishes and builds his identity. At an enrollment station, his biometrics are securely captured through his fingerprints, voice, face, or an iris scan. Then several steps are taken to create a unique identifier using multiple security protocols. This identifier is then recorded on the blockchain, which acts as an index with links to all applicable data. This makes it easy to locate, access, and share information.
Blockchain, biometrics, and your ID. But Accenture isn't the only one. Microsoft too. First, Microsoft launched a digital identity tool on the Bitcoin blockchain. Then we got Microsoft Azure Blockchain Services, a blockchain workbench, and a built-out blockchain development kit. And finally, we got Microsoft's actual digital identity, of which they have an entire white paper on. And in that white paper, we get another clue into what is going on. Microsoft is actively collaborating with members of the Decentralized Identity Foundation and the W3C Credentials Community Group. And as we can see from this explainer infographic, the DIF and W3C tools are highly important. DIF Identity Hub, DIF Resolver, W3C Decentralized Identifiers, and more. So let's go check out these guys, specifically the DIF, as I think they're building the base protocols and the technology that will be used to power ID
There's
2020.
a worldwide program underway to control humanity. And as it turns out, the installation of President Donald Trump will not stop it. It's actually walking us right into it. And it all goes back to the mRNA bioweapon. All roads lead back to the introduction and the proliferation of that poison. At this point, you might want to inform yourself and begin to protect yourself from these psychopaths. And you can learn a lot from your fellow warriors who have already begun. And that's why you're here tonight. This is the Dr. Jane Ruby Show, and you're about to enter Truth in Medicine.
Once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person, design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, you can make that robotically, again, using AI in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
So everybody go get your shot. So everybody go get your shot. So everybody go get your shot.
Welcome to the Dr. Jane Ruby Show on this Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. Well, what you just saw in that clip was the voice of Oracle's CEO, Larry Ellison, announcing to the people of the United States yesterday a $500 billion project called Stargate. where artificial intelligence procedures and processes will be merged with the bioweapon mRNA technology. For your health, of course. With a visual reminder what this poison has done up to this point to people around the world. It has destroyed our military readiness. It has murdered and permanently injured hundreds of millions of babies, children, and all kinds of otherwise healthy people. In the first 48 hours of being